So, once again, the digital era is about to change the world forever.
How?
Pretty soon, everyone will have the ability to fabricate videos by putting faces on other people with seeming perfect quality.
Oh, that sounds like it's got some pretty cool possibilities.
Yeah, all sorts of possibilities like publicly shaming people in a fabricated porn movie or framing someone for a crime.
Wait, it's that advanced?
Potentially, yeah.
So, someone could put me into an adult video with a bunch of models, and it would be impossible to know it was fake?
Yeah, and then they could blackmail you for it, and you would have no way to defend yourself.
Awesome.
Wait, what?
Welcome to Addiction Pal. I'm Logan.
I'm Nate, and today we are talking about the deepfake controversy and the general consequences of this technology where artificial intelligence is used to make potentially really realistic videos. Um, so I guess specifically the deepfake uh, issue, it was a community on Reddit, and there were some apps that made it really simple for people to basically take photos of celebrities, specifically of their face, which is generally publicly available. Like if you do a Google Images search, and then you could, in this case, take a pornographic video, and the technology would somehow merge the face and push it onto the face of the actress or actor. And I believe that the way the technology works is it uses machine learning, and so it creates better and better fakes. And over time, it the idea is that if you give the technology enough processing power and enough iterations, that it'll eventually be very hard to tell the difference. Obviously, it's a pretty new technology, so at this point there are not very many good examples, and uh, it has recently been banned from these communities online for reasons of involuntary pornography. So you might have to try a lot harder if you want to see Nicolas Cage in a porn video.
That sounds like great news to me.
Well, Nicolas Cage was maybe the most popular person to put a face on these
Oh, was it
devices.
really? Why is that
Really?
not
Yeah.
surprising? Yeah, I
They
love
also were
it.
putting Nicolas Cage in other movies because he's not in enough movies as it is. So you could watch him in Pirates of the Caribbean in case you thought you were missing out.
If is Nicolas Cage in the entire Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Because if he is, I think I might have to download that.
Well, it might be hard to find anymore. I don't know.
I might have to. If I win the lottery, I think that might be my first mission now. That's going to be above, like, I don't know, buy a
Yeah,
mansion or something. It's just spend all my money on Nicolas Cage starring in Pirates of the Caribbean.
yeah. I think that the big concern with the technology is that you don't have to be an expert in artificial intelligence to do this. That I don't know if it was like an open source project that Google had, and people then use that platform for this specific purpose. But it got down to the point where you could just have an app and just at one button press make it happen. So it is not beyond your means, no matter what your technological expertise actually is.
Yeah. And
You don't necessarily need to be a millionaire to do it.
yeah, I know that there are some similar programs out there for like Photoshop and stuff like that, right? I know Photoshop has gotten way more advanced. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I know tons of, middle school and high school students who are good enough with Photoshop. They can make a decent looking representation of like a face swap or something like that.
Right.
So, I mean, if kids can do it, I don't see why the technology would not come to fruition with video quality as well, eventually, as long as the technology gets up there, right?
Right. And so I think what's interesting is how strongly people are reacting to this technology. With the banning for involuntary pornography, I don't really know why this kind of thing would necessarily be illegal. Like there were some people who were saying it's a consent issue. I don't know how much consent you need to get to put a face on a naked body. It seems like whatever sexual things are happening are not happening to the face. So that seems confusing
and
to
you
me.
also, we also talked about I totally forgot what I was going to say. Well, one of the things I think about with this sort of thing is I try and relate it to other things that already exist, I guess.
Right.
So I first heard about this and the first thing I jumped to was South Park.
Okay.
I remember when I was, this must have been over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. In South Park, they had their normal little cardboard cutout type characters, and they put Mel Gibson's face on one of them. And Mel Gibson was a very active character in South Park for a while. And around the Passion of the Christ movie release and stuff like that. And it was actually, Mel Gibson's face, just, like Photoshop. They didn't make him a cartoon, although they've done that recently with other public figures and celebrities and stuff like that. With Mel Gibson, he's always just been like that. I think Saddam Hussein was too in the South Park movie.
Okay.
And then they make his mouth move and everything, like he's actually saying stuff. They give him his own voice, and it's all good. And I mean, they make him do some ridiculous stuff in there. Many things could be easily considered sexual acts.
Right.
So I guess my question is that I don't think South Park ever asks for consent. They just do what they want. And they do the most ridiculous things ever. So why would you need consent for having your face put onto a sexual act if you're a public figure?
Yeah. I don't think that I don't think that it necessarily has been in the past an issue that we are willing to infringe upon free speech, right?
Yeah.
That we haven't gone after, at least as far as I know in the United States, haven't gone after cartoonists or these sorts of depictions. I can think back to, I'm pretty sure Dante put a lot of his political opponents in some pretty horrible situations in different rings of hell when he was writing his Divine Comedy.
Right.
I understand that maybe Renaissance Italy didn't have as strong of a legal standing for free speech, but I could see, those kinds of issues about mocking your enemies go back, obviously centuries. But it seems like people are having a very particular response to this technology because the thing is, as far as the technology goes, right now, a good editor on Photoshop can create a much more convincing image than anything that I've seen produced by these deep fakes and yet people don't have the same concern about, is this photo admissible in court? Is this technology? It seems to me that technologies like Photoshop have not made photographic evidence inadmissible in court, right?
Right.
And yet it seems like people maybe trusted video more than they ever trusted photos.
Sure.
So for them, video is reality on some fundamental level.
Yeah, I think if we see a video of something, most people are much quicker to believe something crazy on video rather than in a photo.
Yeah. And yet I'm pretty
If
sure
you catch
that
it on film, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that video technology is still just a bunch of photos put together.
Yeah.
Generally a lot lower quality photos than if you just took one photo. So
yeah. And I mean, there's like magicians out there who make videos using cinematography tricks. I mean, go way back to the origins of film. People started figuring out how to cut strips of film and glue them back together to make like all these jump cuts and whatever else it was. So we have those basic kinds of things, but to make one person a completely different person, I think those kinds of things are done in Hollywood. And to have it at your fingertips for everybody, I guess I could see why some people might be worried about that. Although, kind of like, and then in another light, I'm also thinking, shouldn't we have expected this at some point?
Well, that is the Reddit community. That was their defense, was that everything they produced had a watermark on it saying, like, this is a deep fake or this is a fake video. What we're just demonstrating is the possibilities for this technology, right?
Yeah.
So they were definitely not trying to pass these videos off as real. Their goal was to make the technology and how realistic the technology could be very plain, while at the same time saying in the bottom corner, by the way, this whole thing is a made-up video.
Right.
So and it's pretty similar to like cartoonists or something, where everyone is no one thinks that that's actually a portrait.
Yeah, that's what kind of originally brought me to that whole South Park idea, is everybody knew that was supposed to represent Mel Gibson. Nobody thought that was actually Mel Gibson.
Right.
And that to me is why it was so surprising that, as you said, that thread was taken off of Reddit, because that seems like standard protocol for Reddit, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, what that does is it means that anyone who actually had ill will, who wanted to create blackmail videos or whatever, these are going to be hackers that are not so kind to put a watermark on their work to say, "Oh, BT dubs, this is made up," right?
Right.
So I saw the community on Reddit as being they were exposing what bad people could do with the technology while not engaging in the bad things themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't think that by banning these communities, you're actually setting back the actual malicious actors. You're just setting back how widely it's known in the public about how advanced this technology is. And therefore, in some ways, I was thinking of the deepfakes community as kind of being a vaccine for the population.
Like, yeah, give everybody a heads up, right?
Right. So that when in some ways you're inoculating everyone to be kind of skeptical when they see video evidence of something. And I think that's just kind of a healthy skepticism that unfortunately people need to develop. Um, I think that for a lot of people, when video evidence is reality, what you're saying is that seeing is believing, right?
Right.
And I think that the goal of a decent number of magicians and these types of skeptics is to tell people seeing is not believing. Don't fall for that trap. You need to be smarter than that.
So what happens when we fast forward? This technology's already developed. People have not been preparing. People have not been preparing themselves for this, and all of a sudden they wake up one morning and realize that videos are a lie.
Well, I think this is some people are presenting this as some sort of fact, information-based apocalypse that when any video could be real, then in some sense nothing is real. Because you can always use the excuse that something you disagree with could have been entirely fabricated. I think this, even might be where we're almost at today with, I think I heard that knowing that people can mess with audio editing, that Donald Trump might have been questioning whether it was his voice or not on the recording of him grabbing women by whatever. So even then he can say, well, I don't know if that was actually a recording of me or if that was a fake that someone doctored up to make me look bad. And so then it takes more and more evidence to actually convince people to get a consensus about what actually happened. And I'm not sure we're not there already.
Yeah. So we talked about this similarly on our Facts versus Bias podcast, right?
Right.
Where we believe that we're already kind of in this scenario where if everything is real, then nothing is real. And you're talking about, watching the news or something, two news networks saying completely different things. Both cannot be true. Therefore, nothing is real. We live in the Matrix. I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess I have compassion for people who want video evidence to be the end all be all of factual that must have happened kind of thinking. But I don't know. I guess based on my life experience, I've seen, I don't know, too many illusions. I've had too many situations where my perception didn't correspond to reality. And therefore I don't believe that seeing is believing. And I understand thinking that seeing is believing, and even like audio recordings and video evidence and things are to be trusted, bar none. I don't think we can afford to be that intellectually lazy. I think I think that the technology is there, and I think that unfortunately there are people in the world where there's a will to manipulate reality, and we have to be more vigilant than that. We have to be skeptical, even when we have photographic, audio recording, or even video evidence now of an event. We have to be able to rise above that and get beyond sense perception into what is really happening in reality. We can't live in these are the facts, and it's that simple anymore, if it ever was. And I know that that's more work, but I think that might be what's required of the average individual in today's civilization.
And that's the whole point for these podcasts, right? We're trying to emerge from the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's because we have to, because what can we really trust? Do you have a better idea for how we can go forward?
No, I honestly think that just having these conversations is definitely the first step for me, anyway, to just the awareness of, like you said, you can't necessarily just trust your senses anymore, because there are too many illusions out there. You have to kind of, I think in a lot of ways, rely on your bias, was one way that it was put on a previous cast.
Right.
I would have, we can go back to that some more another time to get more specific with that. But instincts and intuition and deduction, I think they all play a necessary part, for me anyway, when I make decisions and start thinking about things. Use logic rather than what you think is so plainly in front of you.
Well, I'm interested in potentially continuing this conversation about implications of technology, artificial intelligence in particular, on our lives. And let us know if you would like to hear more about this, or what your thoughts on the implications of this technology are. We'd like to hear your feedback too.
Absolutely. So if you guys have any comments about this video or videos you'd be interested in the future, please let us know in the comment section below. But for now, I'm Logan.
I'm Nate.
And this was Emerging from the Rabbit Hole. We'll see you next time.